Welcome everybody to La Tienda. So to start, I was thinking about earlier today how I can relate taquinos to my story. So I was thinking to be born on death row is to enter a world dead in trespasses and sins. That's Ephesians 2:1. Appearing as nothing more than a cold, raw block of cheese destined to the fire. Yet like the taquino, we are not left exposed. We are clothed with garments of salvation. Isaiah 61:10. Meticulously wrapped in layers of grace that protect our essence from being lost in the world. Though the refining fire of your circumstances feels like the end, we're reminded that the trial of your faith being much more precious than that of the gold paraffin. Though it be tried with fire, might it be found unto praise. Just as the boiling oil transforms the dough into a golden crust and softens the heart within, God uses the heat of your death row to turn a sentence of destruction into a testimony of transformation. You emerge not consumed but perfected, proving that while you are born in the shadow of death, you are delivered from the power of darkness to become something savory and purposeful to the Master's table. So part of this book is 100% of the sales from this book go to donating more copies of the book to jails, rehabs, facilities, churches, anywhere where there's people in need. So there is no profit that is taken from this book. But basically this is a story of my testimony of grace and redemption. Once trapped in addiction and self-destruction, my life was radically transformed when I surrendered to Jesus Christ in 2018. Now I'm celebrating 7 years of sobriety August 13th was 7 years of sobriety. I now try to help people in the recovery community as a certified recovery specialist and a board certified mental health coach, and also now a ministry leader for Recovery Alive at Living Faith Church. My core mission is trying to reach people who feel too far gone, delivering a message of second chances in life after death row. I wanted to share it's actually my favorite part of this book here, but from one of the pastors at Living Faith Church, Pastor Mark Santel. And this is what he wrote. I still remember the first time I held a manuscript of Born on Death Row in my hands. It wasn't in a jail cell, but on a plane full of apparently upwardly mobile business travelers. In my mind's eyes, I saw that not too many of them were people whose lives may have echoed the pages I was reading. Men and women who had chased every wind, every pleasure, every escape, only to find themselves empty, chained, and waiting an execution date of their own making. As I turned the pages, I found myself whispering the ancient words of Solomon under my breath. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Meaningless Hebel, a chasing after the wind. Solomon, the preacher of the Bible book Ecclesiastes, began a search with every imaginable advantage. He was a son of David, anointed king over Israel, gifted with wisdom that astonished the world. God offered him anything, wealth, power, long life, and Solomon asked for the understanding mind. Yet once the wisdom was granted, he was set out on one of the greatest human experiments in history. If a man had unlimited resources, unlimited freedom, and unlimited intelligence, could he finally discover something, anything under the sun that would satisfy the achieving void in the human heart? He built houses and vineyards, gardens and parks. He acquired silver and gold, singers, and a harem that would make modern celebrities blush. He denied himself no pleasure. Whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure. He drank deeply from every cup the world offered, wine, women, work, wisdom itself. And after every experiment, every high faded and the laughter died away, he wrote the same haunting verdict. Then I considered all that my hands had done and the toil I had expended in doing it, And behold, all was vanity as a striving after wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun. And that's Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 11. Michael Bauer's story is Solomon's story, stripped of the palaces and the crown, set instead in the trailer parks, back alleys, and county jails of modern America, where Solomon had 1,000 wives and concubines. Michael had bottles and pills, where Solomon built the temple with cedar and gold. Michael built a prison of shame and self-destruction. But the diagnosis is identical. Everything under the sun is evil, vapor, breath, smoke. It looks substantial for a moment, but grasp it in your own fist, closing on nothing. I hear Ecclesiastes ringing through every chapter of this book. When Michael describes the first rush of the high, the way it promised to fill every empty place in the soul, I hear Solomon saying, I said in my heart, come now, I will test you with pleasure, enjoy yourself. When Michael writes of waking up sick, broken, ashamed, yet crawling back to the same poison that was killing him, I hear Solomon's weary conclusion. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. There is nothing new under the sun. The cycle of chasing, grasping, crashing, and chasing again is the same futile merry-go-round that the wisest men who ever lived rode until he was dizzy with despair. Solomon tried wisdom itself and found even that to be vanity when pursued apart from the fear of the Lord. Michael tried every form of escape, drugs, rebellion, pride, and discovered the same bitter truth. Both men stood at the end of the human striving and saw that the same sign written in the dust. Meaningless, meaningless, utterly meaningless. And yet, thank God, neither story ends there. Solomon's great book does not close with the word vanity. After cataloging the emptiness of everything under the sun, the preacher lifts his eyes above the sun and delivers the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing, whether good or evil. The only thing that is not evil, the only thing that endures, is a life oriented toward the God who stands above the sun, the one who gives meaning to the meaningless, purpose of the purposeless, life to the dead. Michael Bauer discovered the same truth not in a palace surrounded by scholars, but on his knees in a jail cell staring at the end of himself. Where Solomon was given wisdom from above, Michael was given grace from the cross. Where Solomon finally feared God and kept his commandments, Michael surrendered to the one who kept the commandments perfectly in his place. Both men, separated by 3,000 years by wealth and poverty, by throne and prison, came to the same place, the end of human striving and the beginning of divine rescue. This is why the book is not just another addiction testimony. It is a modern Ecclesiastes, written not by a king reflecting on a life of excess, but by a condemned man reflecting on a life of self-destruction, who discovered that the condemned can be pardoned, the dead can live, and those born on death row can be born again. I've watched Michael walk out of the truth of Ecclesiastes. For everything there is a reason. For everything there is a season, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. Not as abstract philosophy, but a lived reality. I've seen him weep over the wreckage of his past, and I've seen him laugh with the joy of a man set free. I've seen him mourn the father he lost to the same chains that once bound him, and I've seen him dance in the glorious liberty of the children of God. And I've seen something Solomon never lived to see, the fulfillment of everything he pointed toward. Solomon looked toward to a coming king who would crush the serpent's head, who would write the law of human hearts, who would turn the valley of trouble into a door of hope. Michael has met that king. His name is Jesus, the one who is born under the sun in order to redeem everything under the sun, the one who took the Hebel of human existence and filled it with the eternal weight of glory. If you are holding this book and you feel the weight of vanity pressing down on you, if pleasure has turned to ashes in your mouth, if success feels like grasping smoke, if addiction or shame or regret has convinced you that your life is nothing but chasing after the wind, then hear the voice of the two witnesses across the millennia. One sat on a throne, surveyed the kingdoms of the earth. The other sat in a cell and surveyed the wreckage of his life. Both came to the same verdict. Everything under the sun is meaningless without the sun. But with him, everything changes. Michael Bauer is living proof that the preacher's final word is not the last word. The last word belongs to the resurrected Christ who declares, "Behold, I am making all things new." Revelations 21:5. The vapor becomes solid, the wind is caught, the meaningless is flooded with meaning, and those who are born on death row discover that their sentence has been commuted by the one who served in their place. Read this book slowly. Let Michael's story become Solomon's story, become your story. And when you reach the end, look up, not just under the sun, but to the one who hung above it on the cross, and who rose to give meaning to every broken life that will simply reach out an empty hand and receive. Because grace is not vanity, redemption is not vapor, and the gospel is the only thing under the sun that will still be standing when the sun itself burns out. For the preacher and the prisoner, for Solomon and for Michael, and now by God's grace for you. There is nothing better for them than to be joyful and to do good as long as they live. Also that everyone should eat and drink and take pleasure in all his toil, but is God's gift to man. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 12 through 13. But only when the toil is done in Christ, only when the pleasure is found in him, only the gift is received from nail-scarred hands. Welcome to the story of how a man born on death row learned to live. Pastor Mark Santel, founding member of Living Faith Church. Thanks, Mark. Then, so one of the things also with this book is, like I said, it was designed that I could donate it to jails and facilities. It's great for using it for group purposes. If there's any groups, recovery groups out there that need this, I have in the back of the book, I have some helpful resources, quick contacts like the Find Treatment, the Mental Health National Hotline, place to write down your sponsors or trusted family members. Then there's also reflection questions in the back for every chapter. I guess I'd give an example of a couple of them. So chapter 1 was the fall. So I stated in the first chapter, we are all born on death row. The question is, what does the book describe as the root cause of this spiritual death sentence, and how does a biblical story of Adam's sin relate to your own and a tendency toward brokenness? Had a pretty good question today. I'm also doing a recovery group study with this book at the Beaver Falls Library. Some of the questions from today's reading was really good. From chapter 7, this chapter emphasizes the critical difference between simply not having a drink or drug and being truly sober. How does this distinction highlight this importance of the internal work of the renewing the mind? The New Testament calls for believers to be sovereign, disciplined, self-controlled, and sound in judgment. How does letting the Spirit renew your thoughts help you stay alert and vigilant against the devil's prowling? So there's a lot of good Christ-centered questions throughout this book. I'm also going to read real quick my acknowledgments, who I acknowledged for this book. So all the glory and praise to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the author and finisher of my faith. Every page of this book exists because of his mercy and the power to redeem once what was broken. To Officer Tom of the Zillionople Police Department, thank you for showing me grace when I did not deserve it. Each year when I hand you one of my sobriety coins, I'm reminded that God often works through the compassion of others. To Tom Mershimer, your friendship through these years has meant more than words can say. And to my sponsor, Randy Irby, thank you for your wisdom, patience, and continued guidance whenever I call. You have helped keep me grounded in recovery and faith. And to my church family at Living Faith Church, and especially Pastor Wade Henderson and Pastor Mark Santel. Thank you for believing in me, praying for me, and helping me grow in my walk with God. You have shown me what true spiritual leadership looks like. And to my brothers and sisters in Recovery Alive, thank you for walking this journey of freedom with me and reminding me healing happens in community. And finally, to you, the reader, thank you for allowing me to share my story with you. I pray these words remind you that no one is beyond the reach of God's grace. If He can redeem my life, He can redeem yours too. To God be the glory, great things He has done.